Going to replace my kitchen faucet. Wifey says we got a leak. This thing is over 10 years old. And I replaced cartridge once and O-rings in the middle part a couple times. So it's time for a new faucet. Get out of here and run down the countertop, over the counters, make a mess. So we're going to put a new one in it. Well, step one is turn off your water main. Usually that's hiding in your basement somewhere or your crawl space or wherever. But do that first. Turn off your water main. Second step is you need to have access under your sink. Now, most people store stuff underneath their sink. I get that. But sometimes you get a lot of clutter underneath there. I'm going to show you what I pulled out from underneath my sink. A bunch of stuff I could probably throw 2/3 of it away and never miss it. So this gives you a chance to reorganize your life. There's also a damp spot down here. Looks pretty dark in the video, but it's just wet. So get your shop vac and clean it out really good before you start, because you're going to be crawling underneath here. The other thing I suggest is getting an old bath towel. You can see my shutoff there for the hot, and the cold is up underneath there. I did shut both those off already. Bleed the pressure off at the valves up top. All right. The other thing you want to do is unpackage your new one. And on this, why does this focus suck? You get a hardware package with it. So inside the hardware package are some various parts and pieces. It's a good idea to figure out how this stuff works before you crawl underneath your sink. And looking at this, little bar goes right on there, like that. Little tube goes underneath it, and then a nut goes underneath that. So you got a good idea of how it's going to go together before you crawl underneath to put stuff together. The other thing I did is I tagged the cold hose with a piece of tape. That way I don't get them crossed around and have to backtrack when I connect everything up underneath the sink. So with this figured out, I'm going to crawl underneath there and unhook my old lines and disconnect the old sink brackets. Crawling underneath my sink down here, I discovered we got some really rusty crap holding that faucet on. It's this guy right in the middle, and there's a nut on there. Get some good quality penetrating oil. I'm going to spray it down, let it soak a little bit, and then come back and try it. But yeah, it doesn't look like fun. Just got to get that loosened up so I can take it apart. Okay, got my two hoses disconnecting right now. This is the cold one. The bracket I showed you in the previous video, the bottom hose that was hooked to that is for your central sprayer. So if you have a sprayer, which we never used ours, so I'm getting away from it. One thing I did was make a mess. It went on to this line right here, and then went out through the top up there. Once all the brackets and hoses are disconnected, I just pulled it out the top. Okay, before we put the new one in, have a little bit of cleanup to do. Usually there's some crap that builds up here, lime deposits and whatever leaked underneath it. So I suggest either using a Scotch-Brite or some fine steel wool and shine that up. That's what I'm going to do next. I use some spick and span and just wipe the brown crap off of there. Got my steel wool. Clean this up quick. Sometimes like CRC or even vinegar will break down the lime deposits in there. What you want to get that off there, it just looks a whole lot better when you go back together. Besides, it's hard to clean around a new faucet, so just do it while you have it apart. And it looks so much better when you get it back together. Your wife will be so happy, and women that are planning on doing this, your husband will be so happy, or your significant other, or your partner, or whoever, that it looks so nice. So make it shine, make it pretty, get all the crap cleaned off. A little brittle pad action. Yeah, it looks a whole lot better than when I started. I'm going to spick and span it one more time. Just to get off the last of the last on there. That looks pretty good to me. Okay. The new faucet comes with the drop hoses on it. Also, there's like a plate that goes on the sink underneath that. So let's get that. Here's the plate. And this will have to go under here. So, let's see which way's up. I'm guessing this way's up because that groove probably fits right underneath the bottom of that. And don't know if there's a forward, backward, or otherward. Pause. Got the new faucet in place. Now I got to crawl back underneath the sink. Remember how I said you need to know how your hardware goes on before you put it together? I got all of it put together underneath the sink, but after looking at it again, after installing the hardware on the bottom side, I realized maybe you could have put it partially together loose and fed the mounting brackets through the holes on the top. But I've got everything kind of finger tight. You want to come up here and check your gaps on both sides to make sure that you're centered and you're straight. And I believe I'm sitting pretty good here. I'm going to go ahead and crawl back underneath there and tighten it up. Connect the hoses and then turn on the water and see what happens. I turn the water main back on. Now the magic moment. I am going to turn on the cold. Turn on the hot. It looks great so far. Always check, and double check that you have no water leaks. Even a small leak is not acceptable. A small leak turns into a big mess. Let's try our faucet, see if it works. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Job well done. One thing I would say is wait half an hour and go back and check your lines again just to make sure that you don't have any leaks whatsoever. And if you got some dampness underneath your sink, dry it out good. Put a little fan down there. Dry it out good before you start putting stuff back underneath.